Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Sagittarius energy, and like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I'll refer to as high vibe Sagittarius energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy, because we've all got free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And you know, we could think about wanting to move forward in life differently, but we could have some fear about doing that. And then the bottom row can kind of represent our fears or insecurities. It can represent kind of our comfort zone. And there too, if we're going to live our life differently, kind of just heal, grow, mature ourselves in some way, do things a little different. We have different people in our life that kind of, they align with us when we're in a little bit more worldly, shadowy energy, because they're in their own kind of worldly, shadowy energy. And we might have people in our life who are more encouraging and supportive or doing things that are more aligned with our truth. And then we'd have to detach kind of from some people or job or whatever to move forward in life. And maybe we'd hang out with some different people, right? And some of the people in our life maybe won't like that we're living our life differently. So that could be one way this could be. Some people could be debating within themselves, but at any moment in time, there's going to be people who are moving forward in a more high vibrational way, maybe than some other people in the world. And those people in turn could be moving forward in a more high vibrational way than some other people. Life's all about learning lessons. And, you know, you could have learned more lessons than some other people, which can just be maybe you're not a narcissist or self-consumed with yourself or prideful or egotistical or manipulative or lazy or something, you know. And it's all about learning those lessons, and everybody's somewhere on the spectrum. Generally, we kind of like to hang out with people who kind of have learned some of the same lessons we have and like to spend their time, energy, and effort into the same things kind of that we do, that we find enjoyable, and kind of view life the way we view life. Can we know all sorts of people and kind of enjoy them? Yes, but we kind of like to, you know, the people we have more in common with is the people that we kind of want to spend more time with. So anyway, just keep it in perspective and flip it back and forth as we go. Sagittarius energy is fire sign energy. It can be about what we're motivated and inspired by. In high vibe, it is about learning lessons, realizing life's about learning lessons, that there's a time and a place for these different phases in life that we go through. And then it can become kind of stagnant, boring, or whatever. And that's kind of our intuition telling us it's time to face our fears, to kind of move to the next phase of life, shed an old layer of a way of thinking and feeling and living, to give birth to the next version of ourselves, just like we did age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25, right? And some people always are kind of motivated to work through things that manipulate them. The bottom row can just represent things that manipulate us, and other people are fine with the things that manipulate them, and they don't care to do life any different. So let's go look at the bottom row. Okay, so here we have some masculine cards. Here we have some feminine cards. Here we have a child. And the way I read tarot, so you can apply it to all the different people in your life, which I just think kind of works best anyway, is that the feminine cards can just represent how we think and feel. The masculine figures can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and kind of the action that we're taking in the world. But we can all present ourselves in the world as like stable, grounded, just, fair, loving people. But that might not be the truth of who we are emotionally, you know, so keep that in mind. And the masculine cards can just represent too, whether people are male or female, that they could be a little in shadow, that they're a little more tilted in favor of their more being about themselves or their more worldly nature. It's kind of the things of the world or themselves right now that are driving them a little bit more or a lot more than being willing to listen to their intuition. And over here we have the mature woman, which I view as like the Queen of Pentacles, which would be an emotionally mature person who's learned some lessons in life, right? But we're talking about Sagittarius, and Sagittarius in shadow can be about our more immature nature. So the reason for the bottom rose reading is the main male, which I kind of view as like an Aries Taurus type energy, and I view the Queen of Pentacles as Taurus energy, and Taurus has to do with our philosophy of life. And Aries is fire sign energy, kind of talks about what we're motivated and inspired by. So there's some people in the world, whether they're male or female, they could like to be the boss, be viewed as the boss, want to be the boss. They could be kind of a little bit full of themselves or a little bossy and controlling, maybe stubborn, more worldly focused, self-focused, materialistically focused, and just kind of immature in a way. You know, they haven't emotionally grown up and matured themselves, right? That if you're going to be in relationships with people that are more emotionally mature, so they've tempered their more egoic nature, to work together with people cooperatively from love in a relationship, you know, some people, that's not their thing. Because it would require them to maybe emotionally grow up and mature themselves. And they're like, I'm good. So we have the book card, the child, the great fortune, and the wealthy woman. So the book card is Pisces energy, which can just talk about what we find emotionally fulfilling and what our dreams are. And, you know, so some people are Pisces energy because it can be about getting caught up in the illusion. Some people are caught up in the illusion of themselves and think they're all that, and anybody should want to be in a relationship with them, even if they are kind of bossy or controlling or immature or something, right? But they're still just caught up in the illusion of themselves, some of them. Others of them are just really caught up more in the world. And they still really look to the things of the world, things they want to go indulge in, things they want to go invest in, what they want to make the purpose of their life. And it could be some people are just more focused, even with the Great Fortune card here, which is like the Ten of Pentacles. It can be their career or their image or their status, power, influence, social clout. And, you know, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, I think most of us are kind of tipped kind of more in the world. You know, we can be a loving person, but we're still pretty caught up in those things of the world that we want to manifest because we are sure those things will make us happy. Pisces is kind of about, you know, these dreams we have and things that we'll find emotionally fulfilling. You know, maybe some people want to have children. That could be with child card. Some people want to be in more codependent relationships. I want to be like the parent, you be like the child. I want to be the boss, you're like the employee in this relationship. Some people like to indulge. The child can represent people who have that hopeful, believing spirit. I find it emotionally fulfilling to be in relationships with people who have that hopeful, believing spirit because they're very high vibe Virgo. They're stable, they're grounded, they've learned all these lessons in life, and they are very abundant emotionally. But then they think, I can just create an illusion that that's my truth also. But then as you go in the relationship, you kind of find out they're kind of not who they say they are. And they kind of do try to tempt people with their things of the world, their looks or their money or their charm or their sex or whatever, to try to get people to keep in a relationship with them, kind of turning their back on other people in their life who really are more aligned with their truth. No, don't work through this emotional confusion. Stay right here. Keep indulging me in my illusion. Keep believing one day I'll become more stable, grounded, and loving and authentic, and that one day I'll be the person you would like me to be. You know, and we all kind of have to get out of our illusions, you know, but for a long time, especially when we're younger, we can get in relationships and we can think, oh, I am this stable, loving, abundant, inspired person. But I'm kind of in shadow in the fact that high vibe energy is about dealing with the truth. And sometimes in our more loving nature, we can think, oh, there's someone who kind of harnesses all these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way. I am this loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person. I will change them. And sometimes we get in relationships with people who are quite, have a lot of lessons to learn. And for some of those people who are more immature in some way, or egotistical, or materialistic, or codependent, you could be just the type of person they're looking for. That's great. You keep being loving and encouraging and supportive, and you keep working with me, thinking one day I will become a different person than I am right now. And that's when we have to see the truth that if people were motivated and inspired to be more emotionally mature, more stable, more grounded, more self aware and insightful about why they do what they do, which maybe isn't very just and fair and stable and grounded and loving, they would be that kind of person. But for a long time, kind of a shadowy Aries Taurus energy that anyone can harness is that, we kind of think we're the boss. And it's like, no, no, no. Weren't we all brought up in our Taurus philosophy of life that if we offer truth and love and encouragement to people, they'll change? Well, it is true that that is like the highest energy of all to offer people. I'm offering you truth and love and encouragement, and I'm being stable and grounded and loving and encouraging. But we have to see the truth. Everybody has free will, and some people are like, no, I like this. Let's stay right here. And it's like, well, no, you were supposed to kind of get more grounded within yourself, become more emotionally mature, make better decisions in your life, walk the talk. But if they were interested in being that type of person, they would be. So eventually, when people are kind of get themselves in some mismatched relationships, it can be difficult because they love those people. But they don't have the type of relationship they'd really like to be in. And so then Virgo energy can talk about kind of doing that inner work about, do I deserve justice and fairness? If I'm a just and fair and stable and grounded and loving person, don't I deserve to be in a relationship with someone who's like that? And we could realize that we were kind of repeating a past pattern, and this might be a pattern that we've repeated a lot in our life. That's for the people that are more high vibe and they get themselves in a more mismatched relationship. They're harnessing kind of these energies in a more high vibrational way, but because they have maybe this dream and they want this dream to come into reality, they kind of get tipped out of balance where instead of them standing up for what they really believe in and their Taurus philosophy of life and saying, I am going to invest in what I believe in. Is that who you are or are you not? And do you want to move forward with me in that way or do you not? But this pattern has to change. Everyone in high vibe, Aries, and Taurus energy has to be inspired to want to walk the talk. If you profess yourself to be someone that people, Taurus energy can be that I want people to view me a certain way in the world. And Aries can be that I want people to view me as someone who makes good decisions in my life, and that when I'm involved with other people and those people are affected by my decisions, I take those people into consideration. And I'm not more about my ego and my image and more about me or bossy or controlling. Well, and I'm not immature, I'm not codependent, and I'm not trying to control and manipulate people, but they do have some of those shadowy traits and characteristics. It's like someone who wants to try to present themselves in a more high vibrational way, but that's not really the truth of who they are. And so then we have the unlocking and the bear, which is also Taurus energy, which the bear in, like, I don't know if it's the Lenormand deck or whatever. Anyway, it can kind of come across as like a mothering energy. We can all have love for people, but if those people don't use a loving and supportive and encouraging environment to work through how they kind of maybe indulge themselves in some way, again, kind of thinking it should be more about them, or it's just unfair for them to try to maybe manipulate or control people, or that they really are motivated more by ego and image than love, until they work through that. And someone who's shadowy could emotionally very much indulge themselves. So the wealthy woman can just be that people really emotionally indulge themselves. And they think it's just and fair. Maybe it should be just more about me. And then they think other people should indulge them. And other people can love them. Ten of Pentacles they could be someone in your family. They could be your brother, your sister, your parents, your child, your adult child. It could be people in a workplace. It could be people in a friend group, in your community. But how long, again, people have to be inspired within themselves to. High Vibe Sagittarius is about learning lessons and also looking at life as an adventure to be lived, instead of letting your ego and your fear and your insecurity and your more self-indulgent nature and things you'd rather go indulge in than face your fears or grow up or mature yourself, and we can all kind of get into kind of wanting to just indulge in things to make us feel better. But if we keep indulging our more immature worldly nature emotionally, shadowy energy doesn't want us to give birth to anything new. Our own shadow nature wants us to be more immature, more in our shadowy energy, instead of harnessing our more high vibrational energy. And we can have people in our life, and some people might have people in their life that they are more codependent on. And then it stops them from being more independent, that's high vibe Virgo energy, to live their more authentic life. And they could just be, again, caught up in the world. It's more about my ego and my image and my status. And that's so important to them. They could make more decisions in their life out of ego or defensiveness or lust and greed or something. And it stunts them from becoming a more emotionally mature human being in the world. You have to first get out of your ego to even be willing, again, the truth sets us free. You have to be willing to get out of your ego to even admit, maybe I got some lessons to learn in life. I could have made me so important. I could have made these things of the world so important. That I've maybe had some stable, abundant, loving, high vibe Aries, Taurus people in my life who are inspiring and loving and really walk the talk, and they left. All because, no, it has to be more about these things. These are the most important things, or I have to let these people manipulate me, or I gotta let my ego or my lust or my greed or the world manipulate me. It has to be all about me. And they can keep trying to do that. They just need to find somebody who is willing to be in that type of relationship dynamic with them. Maybe someone who's in that same energy themselves. I want to go indulge in these things. I think these things will make me happy. If I make my life about these things that I want to indulge in, or ego or money, I'm sure I'll be happy. Yeah, I'll be in a relationship with you. I too agree. And other people could have felt like those things manipulated them too much. high vibe energy is about being balanced. Justice is balanced. Do I want some of these things of the world? Yes. Am I willing to stay in a job with people who are bossy and controlling and immature or abusive? A job or a friendship or relationship? No. Where other people might. And, excuse me, everybody has to make decisions based on where they're at in their life and what's best for them at any given moment. And everybody's life situations can be different. But if some other people felt, I do deserve justice and fairness, I deserve to be in a more emotionally mature, authentic, loving relationships versus people who might want to be in a relationship with me, might even indulge me, like to be in a relationship, like to have sex if it's a romantic relationship with you, but is it really love? You should stay in it for these reasons. This all looks really good. We look like we are living the dream. We want children. We had children. We have the stability and the security, or you took this job. This job looks great. You should stay here. And I was like, oh my gosh. Other people realized that it was more about these things, or fear, or codependency, or repeating an old pattern, and kind of realizing the same thing is going to happen over and over and over again. And I have a dream. And I kind of realized there can be a lot of things I like about this job, friendship, or relationship, but I feel shadowy energy can be where I feel like it's limiting and restricting and confining and oppressing and imprisoning. And maybe some of the people I'm in relationship with are kind of like that. And that's not love. People who love you should want you to grow to your full potential, and be more authentically yourself. And high vibe energy is being more independent. Independent of your shadow nature, of your ego, of your fear. Making your life more about the world to live your more authentic life. But some of the people in our life aren't ever going to do that. And then they don't want us to do that. But they might want us to stay and keep being kind of imprisoned and manipulated with them, or imprisoned by the same things that manipulate them, or if they have things that manipulate them, well, because you love me, you should let these things manipulate you, and therefore they kind of manipulate you too. Whether that's things I indulge in, or poor behavior, or other people I'm codependent on that basically manipulate me. You should let those things all manipulate you too. It's like, but those things don't manipulate me. That's like something you need to deal with. And that's when people unlocking the key, it kind of reminds me of Leo energy. Because Leo energy is being illuminated to the truth. Shadowy Leo's being in our ego. I have a dream in my Pisces energy, just like everyone. I want to be in loving relationships, but I want to be in relationships with people who are who they say they are. High vibe Taurus, they act with character and integrity. They're loving. And kind of when people, and also when we're in more codependent energy, it can be kind of looking outside of ourselves to other people to validate our worth and value and love us. And we all grew up in families where we had people in our life, whether they were loving or not loving, we kind of looked to them to love us and, make us feel stable and secure. And we can stay in that type of energy for a long time. And we're kind of going out in the world and looking for people to kind of, and we could get in relationships with people who kind of remind us of people from our past, trying to recreate that relationship if it was a good one, or repeating these patterns of ways of interacting because it's in our comfort zone, whether they were good or bad, or just because we really haven't learned to love ourselves and give ourselves the things that we wish other people would have given us. It keeps kind of getting us in some more imbalanced kind of more worldly or shadowy kind of relationships. So when people realize I hold the key, but since it's a masculine card, it means I have to take action on my truth. And again, Taurus energy kind of is our philosophy of life, and it dictates the decisions we make in our life. I have been illuminated to the truth that it's love, and it starts within me. I need to learn to love me. And that's when we have sudden wealth kind of in our life. We have figured out the mysteries of the Wizard of Oz. It is me emotionally growing and maturing myself and loving me and seeing the truth that I have been repeating some patterns, seeing where I needed to grow and heal and mature, see the truth about who are the people in my life who are stable, grounded, loving, nurturing, just, fair, supportive, and encouraging, who don't try to manipulate me, and who are the people in my life that I might like or enjoy or be attracted to. But it could be this more codependent relationship, or more out of my fear or my insecurity or my want for these things of the world. If we were to take away some of those things that, sometimes we don't realize how much those things manipulate us until we were to look at it. What if some of these circumstances weren't the case? Like, say it was a job that somebody was in where people were being abusive, kinda. But the pay was sucky. Well, you'd probably easily go get a different job, right? But if you had a job where, damn, this gives me a lot of social clout, or at least it lets me have enough money to kind of live my life, and I'm afraid of trying to go find another job. Well, the whole thing is, in our Taurus philosophy of life and our fire sign energy of Aries and Sagittarius, do we think the only things we have to work with are these things of the world? And I don't think we do, because we live in a world of duality. I think in a world of duality, high vibe energy, at the big picture, we refer to it as being represented by God. I don't think you have to be religious. Shadowy energy, we call it and refer to it as the devil. We live in a world of duality. We were given our creative, inspired, intuitive nature. We were given our own unique skills and talents and interests. And we can put in work and effort to emotionally grow and mature ourselves and invest in those unique talent, skills, and interests so that we kind of get out of this more codependent and stand up for ourselves and what we believe in. And when we do that, it's getting us one step closer to freeing ourselves from an old pattern and a way of viewing ourselves, the way of viewing the world, the way of viewing relationships and workplaces and friendships. And so then all we can do, other people are going to do what they're going to do, and they have their free will. But I'm going to walk the talk. That's high vibe Taurus. I have my philosophy of life, and if my philosophy of life is that I do believe there's more to work with in this world, I believe there's high vibe energy in the world that wants to create new things. If we all kept repeating all the same old patterns all the time, we would have never gotten out of the caveman stage. But people listen to their intuition. They have their own unique talent, skills, and interests. And since caveman days, we've come up with all these things that are in the world. And all the inventions and the mathematicians and the scientists and the, indoor plumbing and cell phones and, people who write books on bugs and people who make music and people who write art and people who, did I say write art? Well, make art or write books, I'm going to walk the talk of what I profess to believe. I think I have more to work with than just these things of the world. And I'm going to start listening to my intuition to guide me and love to guide me versus letting my fear and my insecurity and all those things kind of dominate and try to control me. Letting my ego, more worldly nature, run my life and quit letting other people try to dominate and control me. Everybody else can act whatever way they want. That's their free will choice. I'm not going to take it personally anymore. I'm not codependent on them to like me or love me. I'm going to see how people conduct themselves in the world. And if people act kind of in some shadowy ways, I see the truth of it. And I might just kind of keep my distance from them. You don't have to like me. It's not going to get me in my ego. And if I see you act kind of in these kind of shadowy, manipulative, prideful, kind of full of yourself, think people should kiss your ass, yeah, you're not someone I want to hang out with anyway. And all those things and all these different lessons we've learned from different people in the world and different people we've come in contact with, good and bad, I'm going to take all those lessons with me and take all those things into consideration as I move forward. I've dealt with people that are caught up in the illusion of themselves, that are caught up in the illusion of the world, who are immature, who are more materialistic and want, and enough is never enough, and want to take and don't want to give, and whatever. I want to find the people who I think are more stable, grounded, emotionally mature. Both of these I'd view as Virgo energy. I guess both of these I'd view as Taurus energy. We can harness our Virgo and Taurus energy different. High Vibe Virgo is, again, I want to deal with the truth, and I do want to grow and mature myself, and I don't want to keep indulging my more immature nature, and I don't want to keep letting people manipulate me, and I'm seeing the truth that everybody has free will, and not everybody's motivated and inspired by love. For some people, that's the last thing they want. They get hurt doing that. I just want to indulge myself in relationships. I don't really want to do love. And I might use all these things that I have, which are all these things high vibe people could have too. I could look good, be attractive, have stability, have security, be bright, be smart, be charming. The high vibe people don't. Those are just extra perks they have. But they don't use those things to try to manipulate people in a relationship. Because that's not their truth. That's not the foundation in their Taurus energy that they operate from. They treat other people the way they like to be treated. They're loving, they're nurturing, they're just, they're fair, they're tempered in their ego, and that's really why they want people to be in a relationship with them. And other people are like, oh, I want to be in a relationship with you, all right, but I want you in your shadow energy. And if I do get in a relationship with you, I'll maybe try to present myself as this loving person in order to get you to invest in me. But then the reason the top rose reading came out is because of murky thoughts and the gift. And the murky thoughts can kind of be like the Five of Swords or the Six of Swords or maybe the Seven of Cups, where people are trying to confuse people about the truth of who they really are. Don't you view me as a gift? Don't you view me as this loving, nurturing person that you want to work with or date or be in a friendship with or marry? And it can be confusing. So, high vibe people have already dealt with people who are like that. And they've learned that if I take all these lessons I've learned from all these different people I've known in the world, and the feminine figures can just mean that I'm going to listen to my intuition, and I'm willing to get to know people, but, and again, I can work together with people in all sorts of situations. Taurus kind of represents all these different institutions of the world, workplaces, socializing, communities, organizations, family dynamics. I can be a loving and encouraging person to people, but before I would maybe get more emotionally invested in them, I need to figure out what their truth is, because again, High Vibe Virgo is about finding out the truth. I'm going to get to know them just like I'd get to know anybody. to find out what really drives and motivates them. And I'm going to listen to my intuition about the things they say, the way they act. What really drives and motivates them? Are they full of themselves? Are they kind of really caught up in the world? Are they kind of more about trying to tempt and manipulate people? And I'm going to listen to my intuition. And there could be some people where it really does cause people, the fives and the sevens can be, really kind of cause us some conflict because, like, I want to go do that. I really want to go do that, But it's like, but if I've already been there and done that, it's like driving down the road. You're trying to keep driving down the road, staying between the bumper guards of life, not wanting to drive your life off into the ditch. And you get to know somebody and they're driving along in the ditch. Well, that's unsafe. It's probably not going to work well, right? And some of those people want you to come down in the ditch with them. And it's like, that's when high vibe people have to keep staying focused on truth and love to guide them. Do you want your divine inheritance and what you really deserve? Shadow energy, kind of represented by the devil, is kind of short-term gratification. And it can really get a hold on us, and it can be really hard to get out. Again, we are emotionally complex human beings. We get involved with people. We like things that we get invested in to work out the way we want. And we can put a lot of work and effort into them, and then it's really hard to leave. And so some people are just... This mature woman is kind of reminding me of High Priestess energy also, where you kind of just sit back and observe and watch how other people and action that they're taking in their life, what they are investing their time, energy, and effort into, what they're not investing their time, energy, and effort into, and kind of seeing who's who. I think high vibe people want to give birth, because kind of mother energy would be about giving birth to something emotionally. You want to give birth to something that's very stable, grounded, abundant, mature. And there could be some people in your life that think they kind of write the story of your life. And if you weren't willing to do a relationship and kind of indulge them the way they wanted to, some of those people decided to turn their back to you because you stood up for yourself and what you believe in. They could feel, I know you love me and you want this dream to come into reality. So in a way, they kind of feel like they're the boss and they're in control. But what some of those, so, when you're in a relationship, you have the free will choice to be just and fair and loving and treat people the way you like to be treated, which I think is what the more high vibe people do. But the shadowy people don't want to do that because it requires them to have to grow up and mature themselves, and they really don't want to. No, I think it should be more about me, and I should be able to manipulate you and control you. And because you're a loving person, I know you want this dream to come into reality. So therefore, they think they're more the one in charge. But high vibe people deal with the truth, and I see how you're acting, and that's not just and fair, and it's manipulative, and it's hurtful. And I don't want to be in a relationship with someone who's like that. And every day that you are doing that, instead of being truthful and honest and authentic and operating more out of your ego, is another day it shows me that you're not someone who's the type of person I thought you were. At one time, I could have viewed you that way. Maybe at one time you were, but then, we can all be tempted and kind of drive our life off into the ditch. Over time, slowly or gradually or quickly. Some people really were more about themselves They could have created the illusion, operating more from their ego, as just trying to manipulate people and create an illusion that they were more high vibe than they were. But then they didn't know maybe if they would have the things of the world that they wanted, or it kept requiring them to kind of put in work and effort. And it's like, I don't know. I kind of think maybe I could just go get in a relationship with someone else who'd be more willing to indulge me, would be more codependent, might have these things, some more of these things of the world that I want. And some of those people went to go chase after that. Well, when you plant bad seeds, odds are things aren't going to work out, Kind of, you're going to learn lessons no matter what, but when we're not acting in high vibe Taurus with character and integrity, thinking we can confuse people about the truth, that we can still present ourselves as these pillars of society and nobody will know, or because we acted a certain way for a certain period of time, people would never think we're a more shadowy person. But as time goes by, other people sit back and watch and observe, and it's like, you have these people that it seems like your dreams could have come into reality with. But I think you have mental conflict with love, or it required you to grow and mature yourself, quit being more about yourself. And I don't think you wanted to do that. I think you wanted, to be indulged or make your life more about these things of the world. And some of those people are trying to do that right now. And other people see it, and other people could see who are the people, even if it's a workplace, who are the people who are really putting in work and effort, and other people can watch other people. Who are the people who seem to be people who walk the talk? And who are the people who seem to create an illusion about the truth of who they are? But I think they're kind of more immature than they are. They might have status, image, social clout, and power, but they might be more immature than we realize. And maybe some of the people that they were in relationships with, they could have tried to make us think that those people were the more immature people. But I don't know. I'm starting to think, by watching how different people are living their life, and as people work through this, it can be about closing cycles. And so both of these cards can talk about closing a cycle, because they both kind of represent the Ten of Pentacles. One person wasn't willing to detach kind of from an old way of living life or viewing life or the world or whatever, or them. And other people were ready to give birth to something new. In a normal tarot deck, the Queen of Pentacles would be holding the One Pentacle. And after the Ten of Pentacles, we have the Ace of Pentacles, a new beginning. I've kind of learned what I needed to learn from this phase of life. I'm ready to move forward, even though I might have some fears and insecurities, just like everybody, about moving forward in life differently. In the gift card, it's like my intuition is telling me if I keep living my life like this, there's nothing new to come from it. It's like trying to stay a 15-year-old forever. I don't want to stay a 15-year-old forever. And whatever things manipulated me, I'm willing to invest in believing in myself, because I want to face my fears to kind of grow to my full potential. And I am bold and brave enough in high vibe energy to quit indulging poor behavior in myself and quit indulging in poor behavior in others. And the people in my life who are working together with me in a just and fair and stable and grounded and loving, nurturing way and supportive way in workplaces, friendships, and relationships, those are the people I'm going to keep investing more of my time in. Do I have some mental conflict that some people who I wanted to have move forward with me in that way won't be? Yeah, but, some of those people are younger, and, we all got to learn lessons the hard way. Some of them could be your own child. Adult child. And, just like the rest of us, they got to learn some lessons the hard way. They still might be kind of caught up in themselves or things of the world. And I can't, I'm going to wish you peace and love, and I'm going to keep moving on, and you do your dream, and I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to move forward in my truth, and you move forward in your truth. what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming up? Willing to look at life as an adventure. The star card in reverse, apparently I picked up my deck upside down, but everything serves a purpose. And the reason is because of the Six of Cups in reverse. So the Six of Cups is Scorpio energy, which in high vibe, you want deep, meaningful relationships. And it can be people who aren't very interested in a deep, meaningful relationship. Could be more emotionally shallow and superficial, or also people who don't work with you cooperatively. In order to have an emotionally mature, stable, abundant, like authentic, loving relationship, people have to be willing to let their more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play in the world. And some people don't, male or female. Oh, I'm not letting my more hopeful, believing inner child out to play in the world. They get hurt. So I'm just going to indulge myself in relationships, and I'll use my emotions and my charm and my looks or my sexuality to keep people in a relationship with me, but I'm not really going to ever more emotionally invest in people. And the high vibe people see the truth of it. And that's not the kind of relationship they want to be in. They don't want to repeat that pattern. That's not their dream in the Aquarius star card. And so, high vibe, when we kind of work through a phase of life, we kind of let go of that old dream. We've been there, we've done it, we're kind of ready to move on to the next phase of life. And so, high vibe people, by doing this work within themselves, to love themselves and believe in themselves and stand up for themselves, they did the shadow work. They saw the truth. I need to love and believe in myself and emotionally grow up and mature myself. And if I want to be in relationships with people who are more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving, I need to be that type of person. And when I meet people who I might be attracted to, but that's not the truth of where they're at, I wish them peace. I see the truth of it. I wish them love and encouragement, and they kind of like stay in the friend zone. And so I think letting go of an old dream, have reconciled yourself with the past. There's some people in your life that you might know would like to repeat an old pattern. And sometimes even like with parents and children, adult children, sometimes the child wants to be more independent and the parents still no, you should always look to me and I should be able to still dominate and control you. That makes me feel powerful or like you love me or something, And the children are like, that pattern's over. That phase of life is over. We go to the next phase of life. And if you're not willing to accept that, then I might kind of keep my distance from you because I don't like you continuing to tell me kind of how to live my life. I feel like I'm doing a good job. I don't need you parenting me like I'm 15. And then the opposite way can be too, where some adult children want you to keep repeating that pattern and indulging them like they're a child. And I was like, no, that phase of life is over. We completed that part of the journey of life. Now it's time for you to fly the nest, and you put in work and effort to love and believe in yourself and learn some lessons in life. And I'm going to invest in the next phase of my life. Does everybody want people to still be part of their life? Yeah, but a certain relationship dynamic of how things used to be is over. But for other people, they're more caught up in themselves or more caught up in looking like a shining star in the world. And those aren't people that you want to be in a relationship with anymore because you've already been there and done that. And I think because you're not someone who's kind of repeating some of these poor past patterns that some other people do repeat, and because you're not more caught up in it just being about you, and you do actually work together with people in an emotionally mature manner, I think there's other people that will want to invest in you. So, what's coming up for people who might be harnessing? You might be doing very well at work. You might feeling very stable and grounded within yourself. What's coming up for the more shadowy people? We have the Knight of Wands, which is Sagittarius energy, and the Death card. Why? Because of the Two of Wands. So, the Two of Wands is Aries energy, and Aries energy is about the self. So, some people, whether they're an Aries sun sign or not, they're just still more inspired about themselves, or more inspired to keep living their life the way they are living it. Because if they were to do things differently, in the Death card, we have to detach. The Two of Wands, also kind of like Aquarius, can be I have a dream, and Pisces can be I have a dream. But they'd have to kind of detach from some of these things that kind of still drive and motivate them, and they're not ready to end a phase in their life. So they might, if there's certain people in their life who are kind of distancing themselves and like, I'm not repeating that pattern, or I don't want to live my life like that anymore. Those people are leaving. These people are like, okay, well, I'll go find someone else to repeat this pattern with. You know, it's kind of like when I say repeat this pattern, it's just they have a way of viewing life and living life, and how they view others, how they view the world, how they view relationships, or kind of like their emotional maturity level. I don't want to change. I'm good. I'll just go find someone who's more on the same page as me. And so what they don't see coming is that as they kind of keep repeating some old patterns, there's been people in their life who've been harnessing high vibe Sagittarius, trying to encourage them to maybe believe in themselves, believe in their dreams, get out of more codependent energy, invest in themselves, stand up for themselves, be more bold and brave and confident, learn to love themselves. And some people are like, no, that's not how I view life. I think other people should, that's their job. Other people should love me. I don't have to learn to love me. Or I'm not even motivated by love. I'm more just about indulging myself for these things of the world. And they're going to have some high vibe people who are going to leave their life. Because again, some people keep thinking people are going to want to keep indulging them in these kind of shadowy or manipulative or something ways of being. And there'll always be some people who are, but there's always going to be other people in their life that are like, I'm done. And they move on. And what they don't see coming is if they quit, if they don't stop trying to control people, if they don't quit being more caught up in these things of the world or themselves or their ego or their image or indulging their more immature nature, you know, that they're going to end up in a relationship with someone who's kind of like that, or that likes to be in relationships with people who are like that. You know, it's kind of like there's always bigger fish in the sea looking to prey on someone. And there's some people, it's like, oh, so you don't want to emotionally grow and mature yourself? Me neither. And you're really kind of more codependent, maybe materialistic. Maybe if I have some of those things, whether I'm male or female, or you're male or female, you'd be kind of willing to keep staying in a relationship with me. You know, it's kind of like sometimes the shadowy people, that's a shadowy Taurus relationship. It's a more transactional relationship. Whoever, from a more worldly perspective, they value these things of the world more, the status, the ego, the image, or whatever. And they think if they have those things, other people should indulge them. Well, things kind of might flip around, you know, what was good for the goose is good for the gander. And there'll be someone else who will come in their life who'll say, either I am willing to indulge you in this illusion of who you are, just for how I can benefit. It's really all about me and what I can get out of it. And then I might leave because it wasn't love anyway. Or this works for me for now. I don't have anybody to be in a relationship with. I just want to indulge in a relationship and then I'll leave. Or they'll get a more shadowy person who presents themselves as being more maybe hopeful and believing, but they really could be more controlling. And they'll use the fact that some of these people are more about these things in order to control them. And then they could want to get out of it in the death card. But these things so manipulate them that even, you know, and even people in their life or their ego, it just, all those things can get a stranglehold on people. And until they deal with it, it's going to keep manipulating them. And I think things just get worse and worse, just like abusing alcohol, thinking alcohol is going to be the answer to your problems. I think things in the world are meant to be enjoyed, but things are supposed to be enjoyed within moderation. You don't give them so much importance in your life. But some people are so codependent, they'll stay in a relationship they don't even want to be in, just to be in a relationship. If money and status is so important, they could be in a relationship with someone they don't want to be in a relationship, stay in a job they don't want to be in a relationship, be in abusive relationships. And some of the people who maybe used to be a person who was kind of looked like they had it going on in the world, all of our dreams kind of come to an end because we thought, pride comes before the fall, that we thought we were so smart and that we didn't have to emotionally grow up and mature ourselves or love ourselves or treat other people the way we like to be treated. And people get themselves completely caught up in something that, and it's just that, it's all a thing of indulging in these things. And kind of makes me think of that Bible verse. They read it at weddings, like 1 Corinthians something. But if I don't have love, and if I have all these things in the world, but I don't have love, that you realize it's a resounding gong. And that's the death card. There's no love. There's no creativity. There's no inspiration. It's all me, lust, greed, pride, ego, image. And they get so tipped out of balance and they're so caught up in it. This kind of makes me think that some people being narcissistic, that's also shadowy Scorpio, because the narcissist story is that they look into the water, and this child is looking into the water and caught up in the illusion, which is what Pisces energy can be about. They're so caught up in the illusion of themselves, or so caught up in these things of the world to define them and make that the defining factor of what makes them have worth and value. And it's like all those things can be taken away. And for some of these people, some of those things, it's like things keep getting taken away from us. All the things like that we think, no, like you could say you really like to drink, but you keep getting DUIs and then you end up going to jail. Well, then you can't drink, or you think you want to do drugs, but then your life kind of goes in the toilet and then you die, or whatever, you make your life about all these things of indulgence. It becomes so self-consuming. And we've read some newspaper things over the years of people who thought they had such power and image and status that they could just indulge these things and no one had more power or influence or enough, or nobody would. And, some of those people ended up going to jail. And all of it got all taken away because they were unwilling to quit making their life about whatever these things were they made their life about, instead of emotionally growing and maturing themselves and holding themselves to a higher standard of conduct than they were. And that's like kind of going against the universe, because we were meant to grow and change and just put in work and effort to keep kind of growing and maturing ourselves. But we have the free will not to. But we'll leave it there, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.